The earth was quiet, too quiet. Cities that once buzzed with life now stood silent, their streets empty and buildings dark. Nature had begun to reclaim what humans had built, with vines creeping up skyscrapers and animals roaming freely through abandoned towns. This was not the result of some great disaster or war. No, humanity had chosen this fate. As climate change and resource scarcity threatened their existence, the world's greatest minds came together to find a solution. Their answer was as bold as it was desperate: put the entire human race into a deep sleep until the planet could heal itself. They called it the Great Slumber. Massive underground facilities were built, filled with rows upon rows of sleeping chambers. Nearly 8 billion people entered these pods, their bodies preserved and minds kept active in a shared virtual reality. A small team of caretakers would remain awake, monitoring the sleepers and the Earth's recovery. That was 500 years ago. Now, in the early hours of a misty morning, something stirred in one of these facilities. Deep beneath the overgrown ruins of what was once New York City, a lone figure moved through dimly lit corridors. This was Dr. Amelia Chen, one of the last awake humans on the planet. Amelia's footsteps echoed as she made her routine checks of the life support systems. Her face, illuminated by the soft glow of monitoring screens, showed a mix of determination and worry. Something wasn't right. She could feel it in her bones. For weeks now, the long-range sensors had been picking up unusual activity in the far reaches of the solar system. At first, she and her fellow caretakers had dismissed it as a glitch. But the signals kept coming, growing stronger and more frequent. As Amelia reached the main control room, she found her colleague, Dr. Marcus Okafor, hunched over a console. His dark skin looked pale in the blue light of the screens, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Amelia," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "you need to see this." She hurried over, her heart racing. On the main screen, a sight that no human had seen in centuries. A massive fleet of ships, unlike anything Earth had ever produced, entering the solar system. "Is it? Are they?" Amelia couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus nodded grimly. "Aliens, and they're heading straight for Earth." For a moment, both scientists stood in stunned silence. Humanity had long wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, but it came at the worst possible time. "We have to wake them," Amelia said suddenly, turning to face the rows of glowing pods visible through the control room's windows. Each one held a sleeping human, blissfully unaware of the approaching danger. Marcus shook his head. "We can't. The recovery process takes weeks, and we don't have nearly enough resources to support even a fraction of the population." "We don't have a choice," Amelia snapped, fear and frustration evident in her voice. "If those ships are hostile, we'll need every brilliant mind, every skilled hand we can get." As if to emphasize her point, an alarm began to blare throughout the facility. Red lights flashed, and more screens lit up with warnings. The alien fleet had entered Earth's orbit. "They're scanning the planet," Marcus reported, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Looking for signs of civilization, probably." Amelia made a decision. She strode over to the main control panel and began entering a complex series of commands. "We're waking the Defense Council. Now." Marcus wanted to object, but he knew she was right. If humanity had any chance of survival, they needed their leaders and brightest minds awake and ready to face this threat. As the first pods began to hiss open, Amelia and Marcus shared a look of grim determination. They had no idea what these aliens wanted or why they had come. But one thing was certain: humanity's long slumber was over. The time had come to wake up and face whatever the stars had brought to their doorstep. Whether they were ready or not, the human race was about to re-enter a universe that had moved on without them. And their first challenge might just be the greatest they had ever faced. As the first confused and groggy humans began to stir in their pods, Amelia took a deep breath. She knew that the words she was about to speak would change everything. With a steady voice, she addressed the awakening council members. "Welcome back. I'm sorry, but there's no time for a gentle awakening. Earth needs you. Humanity needs you. An alien fleet has entered our orbit, and we don't know their intentions. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are made of." The great slumber was over. The fight for humanity's future was about to begin. The awakening was not gentle. As more pods hissed open, the underground facility buzzed with a mix of confusion, fear, and determination. Dr. Amelia Chen and Dr. Marcus Okafor worked tirelessly, moving from pod to pod, helping groggy humans to their feet and quickly explaining the situation. General Sarah Hayes, head of the Earth Defense Council, was one of the first to fully regain her senses. Her silver hair was messy from the long sleep, but her eyes were sharp and alert. "Status report," she barked, her military training kicking in despite centuries of slumber. Amelia quickly filled her in on the alien fleet's presence and their current lack of information. The general's face hardened. "We need more awake, not just the council, but our best scientists, engineers, and military strategists." "But the resources," Marcus began to object. "Will have to be stretched," Hayes cut him off. "Better to wake up fighting than sleep through our own extinction." As more pods opened, the facility became a hive of activity. People who had gone to sleep in a world of nations and borders now found themselves united by a common otherworldly threat. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned astrophysicist, stumbled out of her pod with a gasp. As Amelia steadied her, Yuki's eyes widened at the sight of the alien ships on the monitors. "Incredible," she whispered. "Their technology. It's like nothing we've ever theorized." Meanwhile, in another section of the facility, Colonel Jack Freeman was organizing the awakened military personnel. "I know you're disoriented," he shouted over the din, "but we need to assess our defenses immediately. We have no idea when or if these aliens might attack." The next few hours were a blur of activity. As more people awakened, they were quickly briefed and put to work. The facility, designed to support only a skeleton crew, strained under the sudden influx of active humans. Water rationing began immediately, and the food synthesizers worked overtime. In the main control room, Dr. Chen and a team of scientists and military officials huddled around the central display. The alien ships had taken up positions around the planet, but had made no aggressive moves. "They must know we're here," mused Dr. Rajesh Patel, a communications expert. "A civilization advanced enough for interstellar travel would easily detect our underground facilities." "Then why haven't they tried to contact us?" asked Amelia. As if in answer to her question, a new alert sounded. All eyes turned to the main screen. "We're receiving a transmission," Marcus announced, his fingers flying over the controls. It's aimed directly at us." The room fell silent as a face appeared on the screen. It was undeniably alien, with gray-green skin, large, almond-shaped eyes, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds. "People of Earth," the alien began, its mental voice oddly melodious. "We are the Galactic Council. We come not as conquerors, but as judges. Your species has slept while the galaxy has changed. Now, you must prove your worth or face extinction." The message ended abruptly, leaving the room in stunned silence. General Hayes was the first to recover. "Well," she said grimly, "I guess we know why they're here now." "Prove our worth," Dr. Tanaka repeated, her brow furrowed. "What does that even mean?" "I don't know," Amelia replied, her voice steady despite the fear she felt. "But we'd better figure it out fast." As the implications of the alien message sank in, a new sense of urgency filled the facility. Humanity had awakened to find itself on trial, facing a judgment they never asked for and didn't understand. Colonel Freeman summed up the thoughts of many when he said, "We went to sleep to save ourselves from ourselves. Now we have to save ourselves from them." The race was on. With limited resources, a fraction of their population awake, and facing technology far beyond their understanding, humanity had to prove its worth to a galactic council they knew nothing about. As teams began to form and plans were hatched, one thing became clear: this would be the greatest challenge humanity had ever faced. The outcome would determine not just their future, but their very right to exist in a universe that had moved on without them. The Great Awakening had begun, but the real test was yet to come. The tension in the underground facility was palpable. Hours had passed since the Galactic Council's cryptic message, and humanity's leaders were scrambling to prepare for whatever challenge lay ahead. Dr. Amelia Chen stood before a hastily assembled group of scientists, military personnel, and politicians. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed her worry. "We've analyzed the alien ships in orbit. Their technology is, well, it's beyond anything we could have imagined." Holograms flickered to life, showing detailed scans of the Galactic Council's fleet. The ships were massive, sleek structures that seemed to defy the laws of physics as humans understood them. Dr. Yuki Tanaka pointed to one of the images. "See these energy readings? They're off the charts. These ships could probably destroy our entire planet without breaking a sweat." A murmur of fear rippled through the room. General Hayes stepped forward, her face grim. "Then why haven't they? They clearly don't need our permission to wipe us out." "Maybe this proving our worth isn't just about military strength," suggested Dr. Rajesh Patil. "Perhaps they're looking for something else." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Marcus's voice came over the intercom, tense and urgent. "We've got movement. A smaller ship has detached from the main fleet and is descending towards Earth." The room erupted into chaos as everyone rushed to the main control center. On the massive central screen, they watched as a shimmering silver craft about the size of a passenger jet gracefully entered Earth's atmosphere. "Where's it heading?" demanded Colonel Freeman. Marcus's fingers flew over the controls, calculating trajectory. It's coming right for us." General Hayes barked orders. "I want every awakened soldier armed and ready. Dr. Chen, prepare to initiate emergency protocols. We don't know if." She was cut off by a sudden, blinding flash of light in the center of the room. When it faded, 3 alien figures stood before them. The aliens were tall, easily 7 feet, with slender bodies covered in iridescent scales. Their large, multifaceted eyes scanned the room, and tendrils on their heads waved gently, as if tasting the air. The humans froze, a mix of fear and awe on their faces. No one dared move or speak. Finally, one of the aliens stepped forward. When it spoke, the words formed directly in everyone's minds, just as before. "We are the emissaries of the Galactic Council." The alien's mental voice resonated. "We have come to explain your trial and observe your response." Dr. Chen, summoning all her courage, stepped forward. We welcome you to Earth. I am Dr. Amelia Chen. We have many questions about this trial you speak of." The lead alien's head tilted slightly. "Your species slumbered while the galaxy evolved. Many worlds have risen and fallen. New alliances have formed. The balance of power has shifted countless times. You are an unknown variable, a potential threat to the delicate peace we have achieved." Another alien spoke, its mental voice somehow harsher. "Some on the council argued for your immediate eradication. Others saw potential. Thus, the trial was agreed upon." The room was silent, the weight of their words sinking in. Humanity's very existence hung in the balance, based on the whims of an alien council they knew nothing about. General Hayes, her hand never far from her weapon, asked, "And what exactly is this trial? How do we prove our worth?" The third alien, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. Its mental voice was gentler, almost curious. "You will face 3 challenges. Each will test a different aspect of your species, your intelligence, your compassion, and your potential for growth." Dr. Tanaka couldn't contain her scientific curiosity. "But how can you judge an entire species based on the actions of a few?" The lead alien's tendrils waved in what might have been amusement. "You misunderstand. All of humanity will be judged, not just those awake. The challenges will ripple through time and space. affecting your past, present, and future. Every human who has ever lived or will live plays a part in this trial. The implications of this statement left everyone stunned. The fate of humanity rested not just on their shoulders, but on the collective actions and potential of their entire species throughout history and into the future. As the aliens prepared to explain the first challenge, tension filled the air. The trial that would determine humanity's right to exist was about to begin, and no one knew if they were ready for what lay ahead. The underground facility buzzed with frantic activity. The Galactic Council's emissaries had departed, leaving humanity with the details of their first challenge. They had 24 hours to prepare. Dr. Amelia Chen paced the length of the main control room, her mind racing. "We need to wake more people," she declared. "We can't face this with just a fraction of our population." General Hayes nodded grimly. "Agreed. But we need to be strategic. We can't afford to waste resources on anyone who can't contribute immediately." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Pods hissed open in rapid succession as Earth's brightest minds were awakened from their centuries-long slumber. Scientists, engineers, artists, and philosophers found themselves thrust into a scenario that seemed more like science fiction than reality. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led a team of scientists poring over the data from the alien ships. "Their technology," she muttered, shaking her head in disbelief. "It's like they're bending the fabric of reality itself." In another section of the facility, Colonel Freeman drilled the awakened military personnel. "We may not be able to match their firepower," he shouted, "but we'll be damned if we go down without a fight." Meanwhile, Dr. Rajesh Patel worked furiously with a team of linguists and anthropologists, trying to decipher more about the Galactic Council from the limited interaction they'd had. "Their communication method," he mused, "it's not just telepathy. It's as if they're tapping directly into the collective unconscious of our species." As the hours ticked by, the pressure mounted. The first challenge, they had been told, would test humanity's intelligence. But what form would it take? How could they prepare for the unknown? In the midst of the chaos, a young woman named Zora, freshly awakened from her pod, approached Dr. Chen. "I have an idea," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "But you're not going to like it." Amelia listened as Zora explained her plan. Her eyes widened. That's insane," she said. "But it just might work." Soon, a new project was underway. While the rest of the facility prepared for the challenge, a small team led by Zora worked on what they called Project Prometheus. As the 24-hour mark approached, General Hayes called everyone together for a final briefing. The faces that looked back at her were a mix of determination, fear, and hope. "I won't lie to you," she began, her voice carrying across the hushed room. "We're facing something unlike anything humanity has ever encountered. These aliens have the power to wipe us out with a thought. But they've given us a chance, and by God, we're going to take it." She paused, looking each person in the eye. "We've faced extinction before. We've overcome ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We put ourselves to sleep to save our planet, and now we've awakened to save our species. Whatever this challenge is, we will face it together. We will show this Galactic Council what humanity is made of." A cheer went up from the crowd, a defiant roar against the impossible odds they faced. As the cheer died down, a soft chime echoed through the facility. On the main screen, a countdown appeared, 60 seconds until the challenge began. Dr. Chen took a deep breath, squeezing Zora's hand. "Is Project Prometheus ready?" she whispered. Zora nodded, her face pale but determined. "Ready as it'll ever be. Let's just hope we don't need it." The room fell silent as the countdown reached its final seconds. Every human present knew that the fate of their entire species rested on what happened next. 3, 2, 1. The main screen flashed, and an alien figure appeared. Its mental voice resonated through the minds of every awakened human on the planet. "People of Earth, your trial begins now. The challenge of intelligence is upon you. May your minds prove as vast as the cosmos itself. As the alien's image faded, it was replaced by a series of complex, multidimensional equations and diagrams, the likes of which no human had ever seen. Humanity's desperate scramble had led to this moment. Now, faced with a test beyond their wildest imaginings, they had to prove that their intelligence was worthy of a place among the stars. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as the brightest minds in human history bent their will to the challenge before them. The clock was ticking, and failure was not an option. The underground facility had transformed into a hive of intense concentration. Hundreds of the brightest minds humanity had ever produced were now awake and grappling with the alien challenge. The air buzzed with whispered theories and frantic calculations. Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before a massive holographic display, her eyes darting between complex equations that seemed to shift and morph as she watched. "It's not just advanced math," she muttered. It's like they're asking us to rewrite the laws of physics." Nearby, a group of quantum physicists argued heatedly, their words a jumble of technical jargon. In another corner, a team of philosophers and theoretical mathematicians huddled, trying to approach the problem from abstract angles. Dr. Amelia Chen moved from group to group, her face etched with worry. They were making progress, but was it enough? And what of Zora's mysterious Project Prometheus? As if summoned by her thoughts, Zora appeared at her side. "It's ready," she whispered, "but I hope we don't have to use it." Before Amelia could respond, a commotion near the main console caught their attention. Dr. Rajesh Patel was waving his arms excitedly. I think we've cracked part of it." The room fell silent as Rajesh explained. They hadn't solved the entire challenge, but they'd made a breakthrough. It was as if they'd been asked to build a spaceship while only understanding bicycles, and they'd just invented the wheel. As the implications sank in, a cautious optimism spread through the facility. They might not have all the answers, but they were proving they could learn, adapt, and innovate. Suddenly, the main screen flickered to life. The alien emissary appeared, its multifaceted eyes seeming to peer into their souls. "Your time is up," its mental voice resonated. "Present your solution." General Hayes stepped forward, her back straight and her voice steady. "We don't have a complete solution," she admitted, "but we've made significant progress. We request more time to." "Time is a luxury the galaxy cannot afford," the alien interrupted. "Your partial success is noted, but it is not enough." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Had they failed? Was this the end of humanity? Dr. Chen pushed her way to the front. "Wait," she called out. "We have one more thing to show you." She nodded to Zara, who stepped up to the console. With trembling fingers, she activated Project Prometheus. The room's lights dimmed as a new hologram sprang to life. It was a visual representation of human history, not just recorded history, but a projection spanning millions of years, from humanity's earliest ancestors to potential future evolutions. "We may not have solved your equations completely," Amelia explained, her voice gaining strength. "But we've done something no other species in the galaxy has done. We put ourselves to sleep to save our planet. We faced extinction and chose preservation, not just of ourselves, but of all life on Earth." The hologram shifted, showing the decades of preparation for the great slumber, the sacrifices made, the hopes for the future. "And now," Amelia continued, "faced with a challenge beyond our current understanding, we didn't give up. In mere hours, we've advanced our understanding of the universe by centuries. Imagine what we could do with more time, with guidance." The alien emissary was silent, its tendrils waving slowly as it observed the hologram. Zara stepped forward, her voice quiet but firm. "Project Prometheus isn't just about our past or present. It's a pledge for our future, a promise that we will continue to grow, to learn, to better ourselves and our understanding of the cosmos." The room held its breath as the alien considered their words. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. Finally, the emissary spoke. Your solution was unexpected. You have demonstrated not just intelligence, but wisdom and potential. This is intriguing. A collective sigh of relief swept through the room, but the alien wasn't finished. However, intelligence alone does not guarantee a species' worth. The next trial awaits, and it will test more than your minds. Prepare yourselves, humans. The challenge of compassion begins now. As the alien's image faded, the humans exchanged worried glances. They had passed the first test, but at what cost? And what fresh challenges awaited them in this trial of compassion? The confrontation had ended, but the true test was just beginning. Humanity's place in the galaxy still hung by a thread, and the clock was ticking once again. The challenge of compassion had begun, and it was unlike anything humanity had expected. The Galactic Council's test was not a simple matter of kindness or empathy. It was a complex scenario that forced humans to make impossible choices, balancing the needs of individuals against the greater good. For days, the awakened humans worked tirelessly, faced with holographic simulations of alien species in crisis. They had to allocate limited resources, mediate conflicts, and make life-or-death decisions that would impact millions. Dr. Amelia Chen watched as her fellow humans grappled with these moral dilemmas. She saw tears, heard angry shouts, and witnessed moments of profound understanding. Through it all, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in her species. On the 5th day of the challenge, something unexpected happened. As Dr. Rajesh Patel was working through a particularly difficult scenario involving two warring alien races, he noticed a pattern in the data. "Wait a minute," he muttered, his eyes widening. "This isn't just a test. It's real." His revelation spread through the facility like wildfire. The scenarios they had been solving weren't simulations at all, but actual conflicts happening across the galaxy in real time. General Hayes called an emergency meeting. "If this is true," she said, her voice tight with tension, "then we're not just being tested. We're actively shaping galactic events." The realization changed everything. Suddenly, the weight of their decisions felt even heavier. They weren't just proving their worth. They were affecting the lives of real beings across the cosmos. As the humans redoubled their efforts, something remarkable began to happen. Their solutions, born from a unique blend of logic and empathy, started to yield unexpected results. Conflicts that had raged for centuries began to cool. Species on the brink of extinction found new hope. Word of these successes spread through the facility, boosting morale and spurring even greater efforts. But it wasn't just the humans who noticed the change. On the 7th day of the challenge, the main screen flickered to life. The alien emissary appeared, but this time, its usual cool demeanor seemed shaken. "Humans," it began, its mental voice tinged with what could only be described as awe. "You have done the impossible. Your solutions to these galactic problems, they are unprecedented." Dr. Chen stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We realized these weren't just simulations," she said. "Once we knew real lives were at stake, how could we do anything less than our absolute best?" The alien's tendrils waved in what might have been agitation. "You are not supposed to discern the true nature of the challenge. This is unexpected." Zara, who had been quiet since the reveal of Project Prometheus, spoke up. "Isn't that the point, though? To see how we would react in real situations, to test not just our compassion, but our insight and adaptability." The emissary was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was a new tone in its mental voice. Was it respect? "Your species continues to surprise us," it said. "You have not only passed the challenge of compassion, but you have also demonstrated a level of perception and problem-solving that we did not anticipate." A cheer went up from the assembled humans, but it was quickly silenced as the alien continued. "However, this unexpected development has caused concern among some members of the Galactic Council. Your potential may be greater than we initially believed. Some see this as a threat." The room tensed, the brief moment of triumph evaporating. Had their success, only put them in greater danger. But the alien wasn't finished. Others, myself included, see it as an opportunity. Your unique perspective could be invaluable to the galaxy. Therefore, we have decided to accelerate the final challenge. The emissary's form seemed to grow, filling the screen. Prepare yourselves, humans. The challenge of potential begins now. And be warned, the fate of not just your species, but the entire galaxy may rest on the outcome. As the alien's image faded, the humans looked at each other in a mix of fear and determination. They had turned the tables on the Galactic Council's expectations, but the greatest test was yet to come. Dr. Chen took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Well," she said, a glint of defiance in her eyes, "I guess it's time to show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of." The final challenge loomed, and with it the ultimate proof of humanity's worth in the cosmic order. The challenge of potential began without warning. The facility's main screen erupted with a cascade of images and data streams, overwhelming the senses of every human present. It was as if the entire history and possible futures of the galaxy were being poured into their minds all at once. Dr. Amelia Chen staggered under the mental onslaught, her eyes wide with shock. "What is this?" she gasped. The alien emissary's voice resonated in their heads. "This is the accumulated knowledge of the Galactic Council. Your potential will be judged by how you use it." As the initial shock wore off, the humans began to process the information. Scientists exclaimed in wonder at technological marvels beyond their wildest dreams. Historians marveled at the rise and fall of civilizations across millennia. Philosophers grappled with alien concepts that challenged the very nature of existence. But it was Zora who first grasped the true nature of the challenge. "Don't you see?" she shouted above the commotion. "They're not just testing what we can learn. They want to know what we'll do with this knowledge." Her words sparked a flurry of activity. Teams formed spontaneously, combining their diverse expertise to tackle the galaxy's greatest challenges. They proposed solutions to energy crises that had plagued alien worlds for centuries. They developed peacekeeping strategies for age-old conflicts. They even began to unravel the mysteries of dark matter and energy. As hours stretched into days, the humans worked tirelessly. They made mistakes, argued fiercely, and sometimes failed spectacularly. But they never gave up. With each setback, they learned, adapted, and tried again. On the seventh day, something extraordinary happened. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, working with a team of physicists and engineers, stumbled upon a theory that could revolutionize space travel. It was a propulsion system that could traverse galaxies in the blink of an eye, without the need for massive energy expenditures. The discovery sent shockwaves through the facility. If it worked, it would change the face of the galaxy forever. As they prepared to present their findings to the Galactic Council, tension filled the air. Would this be seen as a testament to humanity's potential, or as a threat to the established order? The alien emissary appeared on the screen, its multifaceted eyes unreadable. "Humans," it began, "you have done what no species has done before. You have not only absorbed our knowledge, but expanded upon it. Your potential is unsettling to some, exhilarating to others." The room held its breath as the alien continued. "The Council has deliberated, and we have reached a decision. Humanity will not merely be allowed to exist. You will be invited to join the Galactic Council as full members." A stunned silence fell over the room, quickly replaced by cheers and tears of joy. They had done it. Humanity had secured its place among the stars. But the emissary wasn't finished. However, this invitation comes with great responsibility. Your ideas, your innovations, they have the power to reshape our galaxy. We ask that you use this power wisely, for the benefit of all sentient beings. General Hayes stepped forward, her voice firm. "We accept this responsibility. Earth has learned hard lessons about the consequences of unchecked progress. We won't make the same mistakes on a galactic scale." Dr. Chen added, "Our history is filled with darkness, but also with light. We've seen the worst of ourselves, but also the best. We'll bring that knowledge, that balance, to the galaxy. The aliens' tendrils waved in what seemed like approval. Then let it be so. Prepare yourselves, humans. A new era begins. For you, and for all of us. As the emissary's image faded, the humans looked at each other in wonder. They had awakened to a universe that had judged them. And in turn, they had changed that universe. Zara smiled, her eyes bright with unused tears. So, what do we do now? Dr. Chen laughed, a sound of pure joy and possibility. Now we wake up the rest of humanity. We have a galaxy to explore, civilizations to meet, and a future to build. As the facility buzzed with excitement and plans for the future, a new chapter in human history began. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had been tested and proven their worth. Now, humanity stood on the threshold of a grand adventure, ready to take their place in a new galactic order. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now beckoned, and humanity, wide awake and full of potential, was ready to answer the call.